All right, guys, gather round because you won't want to miss this. It's the kind of story that blends drama, international politics, and the explosive heat of live television. We're diving right into the world of Kellyanne Conway and Joy Behar, caught in a verbal sparring match on The View, a day we won't forget easily. So, back in 2016, just before Donald Trump took the political world by storm and won the presidency, The View thought they'd do us all a favor by inviting Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, onto their platform.
Oh, Kelly, here's what I wanted to ask you. You know, when I was 12 years old, they made us go under the desk and hide because the nuclear bomb was about to hit. And I never brought my library books back because I thought, well, we're going to die anyway. What's the point? So you're a guy, Donald Trump, he's very cavalier about using nuclear weapons. And, you know, and even Europe is off the table. I mean, what? Aren't you petrified? You have 4 children. That scares me more than any other stupid thing he has said.
Well, I'm concerned for everyone's children. And I will just say this to you. It's Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton who gave their president and secretary of state. They did this Iran nuclear deal.
You're not answering that. You're not asking the question.
Well, here's how I answer the question.
The nuclear deal is a controversial thing in Iran. Wait a second. A lot of people believe that will prevent nuclear war for 10 years. Okay, but that's not my question. My question is his rhetoric is off the wall on this topic.
It's not, actually.
You know, those guys really thought they had something going. They probably figured they'd corner her with Trump's controversial rhetoric about nuclear weapons and his alleged ties to Russia, but, well, things didn't exactly go as planned for them. During her appearance, Joy Behar wasted no time in going for the jugular, addressing one of the most terrifying issues imaginable: nuclear weapons. She questioned Trump's supposed cavalier attitude towards them, a grave concern, right? She posed her question about Europe being not off the table for nuclear strikes, suggesting this unpredictability could lead to catastrophe. "Aren't you petrified?" Joy asked, thinking, she could catch Kellyanne off guard. But Kellyanne didn't flinch, not even for a second. Her response? She calmly addressed the question about Trump's rhetoric, explaining that, sure, Trump's words might have seemed intense, but they were meant to project strength. She pointed out that America's safety protocols involved many layers of decision-making, implying it's not like Trump could just, press a button on impulse. Now, fast forward 8 years, and what we're seeing today is a world troubled by numerous conflicts. Seriously, guys, the United Nations has, noted more concurrent conflicts now than since World War II. With over 2 billion people living in nations experiencing unrest, it makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was some method to the madness of Trump's rhetoric. It was unpredictable, sure, but that very unpredictability, some argue, kept enemy nations on their toes, unsure of how far he might go. Interestingly, if you dive deeper into Trump's nuclear weapon stance, despite what folks at The View might have implied back then, he talked tough but acted cautiously.
And I want to tell you something. I go to these rallies with Donald Trump. I really want you to look at all of the people there, because some people get there, they're there for 8 hours. And you know why? They believe in him. They feel like they're part of a movement. They want to be there because they feel like he will make us more safe and more prosperous. And you can't just dismiss. You want to attack him and something he said? Great. But you could do that.
Now, I heard that Melania is giving a speech. Does it start 7 years ago?
And it doesn't need to. It starts with...
When's the speech?
The speech is tomorrow at 2 p.m. outside of Philadelphia. I'll be with her. She's written a beautiful speech, and she's a wonderful person. I think people are very curious to hear what she has to say. She'll talk about her life here, her life in Slovenia, where she grew up, and the love of America when she was growing up, and how it was not enough to just know about America, but she wanted to be in America. And she waited 10 years through the normal channels.
That is exactly how most immigrants feel in this country.
And what she would do as First Lady.
They all love that, America.
Yes, we all do.
A New York Times interview from 2016 featured Trump calling nuclear weapons the absolute last step, recognizing their destructive power while professing a desire to avoid proliferation. His words, believe it or not, acknowledged how terrifyingly powerful these weapons are. You might be wondering how this stacks up against the current global political stage. Look at Russia and Ukraine. Under President Biden, Vladimir Putin seems more emboldened. Feels like he's testing the waters in Europe. His repeated, almost casual references to nuclear arms are honestly a bit scary. But why is he so bold? Many point to what they see as a vacuum of strong leadership from the United States, leading to this balance of power and words on thin ice. Now, back to our riveting TV debate. Even after Kellyanne's firm responses, she got a bit of laughter from The View's crowd. But then, wonder of wonders, one of the panel members actually made a compelling point about toughness and rhetoric, hinting at its appeal to many Americans. In international politics, where threats are, like, part of everyday dealings, this rhetoric carries weight. But of course, when it comes to The View, it wasn't all about nuclear strategies. They dug deeper into the drama, then swung to another hot topic of the time: Russia's alleged meddling in American politics, specifically Trump's supposed business ties to the country. Imagine the scene. Kellyanne standing firm, insisting Trump hadn't taken money from Russia, and dismissing allegations with reports that found nothing incriminating against Trump.
I was raised to believe that the one thing that we had was we were blessed to be born and raised in this country, and that we had our family's name, and you keep your name clean.
Yeah, well, we did talk earlier about the show, about being able to respect both sides. I want to ask you about Russia. We talked about Iran. We talked about the nuclear deal. But Russia's involvement is also a big concern. Can you unequivocally say that Donald Trump has never done business with Russia, has never taken money from them, and never will?
That's what he's told me. And by the way, the New York Times buried on A21, they buried the story that the FBI investigation into Russia produced nothing.
The audience is laughing because we haven't seen his tax returns. Then we would know something.
There's a one. Yes, you know plenty.
Here's a bit of irony for you. In the years since, much chatter has shifted focus to the Bidens, especially President Biden's son, Hunter, with numerous allegations about foreign business dealings still making headlines. Skepticism about potential conflicts of interest, especially with companies in Ukraine and China, floats around political circles just as much as they did against Trump. In wrapping up this segment, let's reflect a bit on how the same convulsions that rocked political debates back then continue to pulsate through today's headlines. Whether it's Trump, Biden, or any other political figure, geopolitical blunders, or perceived ones, are a staple in the narrative of American politics. The comedy and critique of Joy Behar, who dubbed Kellyanne as delusional, now seem kind of small in the grand scheme, when, considering the explosive international situation we're now navigating. Ultimately, countries like North Korea or Russia, while provoking with their rhetoric, know, just as we do, the devastation a nuclear conflict would bring. Their aim is to solidify power, using words as tools in a strategic game, where reckless language could either enforce fear or call someone's bluff. However, in The View's attempt to portray Trump's rhetoric as reckless warmongering, maybe they missed a critical point, that within international rings, words can be as powerful as, well, nuclear arms themselves. The truth: navigating global threats requires heft and deftness in both words and deeds, something today's political players might still be striving to balance. So, what do you guys think about all this? Are words just as powerful as actions in these precarious times? Drop your thoughts below and let's keep the conversation going.